Okay, Leanne, is that us? Good evening,
Yes.
everyone. Welcome to the Motherwell Community Board meeting. Thanks everybody for joining tonight, those that managed to come along. You'll be wondering why I'm chairing. So this evening, unfortunately, Councillor Khan is not well, so she's sent her apologies and she was going to chair the meeting, and I don't think any of the other members were available either to chair the meeting. So it's fallen to me to take on the chair this time. So I hope that's okay with everyone. And also just a reminder that I think we are still looking for anybody that would be interested in taking on the role of the chair. So if any of the community reps in particular are interested in that role, if they could let us know, that would be great. Maybe just before we sort of get into the agenda proper, and I wasn't going to go round and ask everybody to introduce themselves because that would take some time, but just for those of you that maybe not had the chance yet to meet Darren, Darren Wynne-Jones has now joined Leanne's team and is the Assistant Community Partnership Manager, and he's got responsibility for the Motherwell area as well as other areas. So Darren, don't know if you just want to wave or introduce yourself briefly, and I'm sure you'll get to know everybody in due course, but just to let everybody know who Darren is.
Thank you, Pamela. Appreciate that. Good evening, everyone. Nice to meet you all. Yeah, I'm sure I've met a few of you already, but I'm now looking forward to attending my first Motherwell Community Board meeting, and yeah, I'm looking forward to kind of working in partnership with many of you over the coming weeks, months, and hopefully years. Thank you.
Okay, thanks, Darren. Okay, so just moving on then, as I said, we have got a number of apologies tonight, and I think it is inevitable at this time of year. Some people have got other business or unfortunately are not well. So I think, Darren, we've got apologies from Councillor Khan, as I said, Councillor Thomas, Councillor Brennan, who might be able to join us later, Nan McIntosh from the Newark Hill Community Council, and Paul Struthers, I think, who was going to join us as well. Is there any other apologies? No.
No, those are the only ones that we received officially. Yeah.
I think Councillor Kelly, I think you said, didn't you? Was he also an apology?
That's right. Yes. Yeah. Yes. Yeah. Thank you.
Councillor Kelly as well. Okay, so if we can move on to the minutes of the previous meeting and matters arising. So I have to say, very detailed minute, which is always helpful, particularly when you've got actions against your name. So as I've got a few, but first of all, is everybody okay in terms of the kind of accuracy of the minute? Those of you that were attending and can actually remember what happened on the 14th of September, but no, everybody's okay with that. I don't hear anybody putting their hand up or in the chat bar. So in terms of matters arising, let's say I've got a couple of updates which I'm happy to give just now. I think they're probably mainly for me or my team, so I can do that if that's okay. So just kind of working through it. I think Nan, I know she's not here tonight. I'm not sure if there's anybody from the Newark Hill Community Council here, but we were asking, and Alec as well, we're asking for an update in terms of the community benefits that had been promised by Balfour Beatty as part of the link to the works at the station and at Muir Street. So it was just to say we are sort of actively chasing that up. I think a couple of the commitments that were made have either been honoured or in the process of taking place, but the community benches, or the benches that the two organisations had asked for, we don't yet have a date for installation of those. So we are actively liaising with Balfour Beatty, and we will come back to provide an update to Nan and Alec as soon as possible in terms of the date for that. I think the other matters that, with the presentation at the last meeting, if you remember, about the Meadowhead Road active travel and road safety improvements. So just in terms of an update, there was a couple of comments made. I think there was a comment about the signage strategy, so to make sure that when the active travel routes are there and improved, that there's better signage. So Jim Maguire, who the presentation along with Lorna, has confirmed that will be part of the works once all of the active travel works are completed, to make sure it's a comprehensive sign strategy. So again, that will be actioned. And I think there was also a comment, I think it might have been from Councillor McGowan, about digging up the road. So if Comsworld or utility providers, if we're planning to do or organising this work, somebody else going to come along 5 minutes later and dig it all up again. So I've had confirmation that there's no such works planned at the same time or near when we're due to do the works, which is not to say that there may not be something in the future. So I think basically we're liaising as closely with Comsworld to try and make sure that that isn't the case. But at the moment, in terms of the timescales that we're working to, there's no other works planned. But obviously, it's a very good point to try and make sure that, if possible, and hopefully nobody's going to play this back to me in a year, but we do everything we can to avoid that. So on the Meadowhead Road consultation, if you remember, just when we discussed it at the last meeting, Jim and the team were planning or arranging that consultation, and there was feedback as well about timescales and trying to give a wee bit longer. So I think they weren't able to accommodate that. So the consultation concluded at the end of October, which was a slightly longer period, I think, than had originally been envisaged. And you remember, this was all linked to trying to make sure we could spend the funding that we'd obtained, within the timescales. So overwhelming in terms of there was a lot of responses, I think overwhelming positive and supportive, but there were 6 objections to the proposals. So under, I think, the scheme of delegation that we operate with, that means that the proposal will go to committee in February. So I think it will be go there for approval, with the works due to start as quickly as possible thereafter. And we have got a contractor that we would be looking to use. So again, happy to circulate further detail through the Community Matters team if anybody's got any sort of further questions on that. And the other active travel was around the question was around the Hope Street works, the works at Hope Street. So I think there's a briefing that Kirsty and my team has done that should be going out to the elected members. If it's not going out today, it'll be going out tomorrow or very shortly, which again we would be happy to circulate more widely to the through the Community Matters team to give you an update on that. There's also a link which I'll put on the chat bar when I stop talking, just again that people can access through the website to get an update on all of the works at the station and the proposed active travel. So that was the updates from that. And my final update was on, I think, town centre project, housing projects rather, and I said we'd be happy to sort of feedback at a future meeting. So again, I've got details of that, but it might be, and depending on feedback from the community reps and the members, elected members, would be happy to come back to a future meeting and maybe to do a sort of short presentation on that, because they're quite interesting projects, all of them. And that's the old the town hall in Motherwell. These are because at sort of design stage at the moment. It's quite interesting. The former YMCA building, and again that's at quite an advanced stage. Hopefully the members, I think we maybe circulated details of that before, but again that's a really interesting project, and hoping to get that started on site in the new year. And the Masonic Hall site, again, that's at quite early stage in terms of the design process. So all of them are really, as I say, interesting projects. So if that would be of interest, we would certainly be happy to bring that back to a future meeting. Or, as I say, if there's any questions, I can give an update on that later on in the meeting. I think that was me. Is there any other updates, Leanne? I think there was a couple against your name. Is there anything else that anybody wants to update from the last minute? It was.
I think.
Has it all been done?
No, I think anything that was to circulate has been circulated. I think the only other one, unless I've missed anything, Pam, was around to provide an update on the CCTV at the Duchess Park. I think Darren's got an update on that. If it's okay to bring Darren in, I'll go through all the actions. But I looked earlier. I think everything had been sent out that we'd agreed that we would send. So if Darren could just give a wee update, but I'll double check just now, just in case there's anything I've missed.
Thanks.
Yeah,
Darren?
of course. Yeah, so in relation to the CCTV, we were aware that Duchess Park in particular was identified as an area of need for CCTV installation and or upgrades, with several constituents raising the matter with a number of elected members within the area. But we're delighted to inform you that works for this area has been awarded, and we were just awaiting a date for when to expect works to commence and expected timescales for completion. But this will include the installation of at least 2 pillars, both that will mount a couple of cameras, and one of these will also be a night vision type camera. Now, these cameras will be located in the centre of the park and close to the end of the pathway coming from Cameron Street entrance. If you're aware of that entrance, I'm sure you are. As I understand it, these locations are providing a good coverage across the park, including the play facilities, the skate park, and the main war memorial, and entrances and so forth. I would like to think that this is quite reassuring for the community and will enable people to kind of enjoy this park freely and safely. So that's the update that we have around the CCTV on this, but we just need to, once we have the expected date for this to start and complete, we will of course share that with you. Thank you.
Thanks, Darren. So I don't see anybody with any hands up or indicating in the chat bar that they've got any other questions or anything else from the matters arising from the last minute. So we're happy to move on. Okay, thank you. So moving on then in terms of, and obviously the sort of main focus of the community board is to progress the local outcome improvement plan actions and priorities. So in terms of the agenda, the local priorities that we've identified are next on the agenda. So I think the first one is an update from the environment group, and I think, Darren, are you going to take this one?
Yes, I am. Thank you, Chair. Paul Struthers has sent in his apologies. Yeah, so obviously one of our local outcome improvement plans, like priorities for Motherwell, is the environment. But I wanted to use this community board as an opportunity to bring to you quite an exciting potential development at the Motherwell Fire Station. Basically, an opportunity has been presented to us for the development of a community wellbeing garden at Motherwell Fire Station. An organisation called Robertson Facilities Management, who've joined forces with Scottish Fire and Rescue Service to manage their property services, and part of their contract contains a commitment to community benefits. So the organisation are seeking to support the development of a wellbeing garden or a green community space at the fire station, and are seeking a joined up approach between North Lanarkshire Council, the fire station, and various community groups. Having made a visit to the fire station last month, just to get a little bit more information and carry out a little bit of a scoping exercise, if you like, it is clear that the site that the fire station has to the side of the building has the potential to be transformed to include anything from a welcoming shed to encouraging talking, a sensory garden, polytunnels for food growing, beehives for wild honey making, or an area that can be used for education purposes by schools and so forth. Following that site visit, we have reached out to for early expressions of interest from community groups and organisations, including a potential anchor organisation to deliver this collaborative green space project. We're keen to initially gather interest before we can proceed to a roundtable discussion, if you like, over one cup of tea or coffee with interested parties about what this could actually look like, what could we deliver, and who do we want to benefit from it, etc. Now, working in partnership, we hope we can unlock additional funding streams, both from local government and externally, and share this safe space, community space that can be open to all members of the community through the activities of various community groups. And I think this will enable us to contribute not only to the outcome, LOIP outcome of environment, but also achieve other outcomes on tackling climate change, loneliness, mental health, food poverty, and so forth. So for now, if you are interested, or if you're aware of a community group or organisation who I may have missed, please, please let me know directly, and I'll make sure to follow up and make sure that they're aware of this potential collaborative project. So that was the only update that I wanted to bring in around the environment, Chair. So I welcome any questions.
Thanks, Darren. I don't see any hands up, so I think we're okay to move on. So in terms of the next one, I don't think there's an update as such on the tackling poverty and inequalities or the mental health and well-being, but I think maybe an opportunity for Sarah, so I don't know, Sarah Warnock, who's the newly appointed Health Improvement Senior at NHS Lanarkshire. So Sarah, do you want to maybe introduce yourself?
Hi there. Yeah, so I just started in post at the beginning of October. So it's just really an opportunity for me to say hello. Nice to meet you all. I'm sure we'll be seeing a lot more of each other. We have actually had one meeting to do with mental health and tackling poverty, but low attendance because it was late notice. But we have sort of worked on re-establishing that group, so we're hoping to do more on that soon. And we've got our next meeting in for January, so we are moving with it. I'll also introduce my colleague Megan's on the call today as well, and she's part of the health improvement team as well, so she's joining.
Yep, hi everyone who I've not met, nice to meet you. And like Sarah says, I work alongside her in the health improvement team within the NHS.
Thanks, and welcome both. And obviously, I think fair to say that this is, one of the top priorities that we've sort of been focusing on in the council, and I'm sure within your own organisation, given the current state of the finances in the country and what people are facing. So I think it'll be really good to get updates at the next meeting, and hopefully, as you say, the meetings will start up and you'll get good input and feedback. So as I say, look forward to hearing more about that at the next meeting. Again, I don't see any questions in the chat bar. Okay, we'll move on to the digital inclusion, and Leanne, I think you were going to update on this one.
Yeah, so many of you will be aware that obviously digital inclusion is a priority for the Motherwell area, as it is in many areas in North Lanarkshire. The way that we're taking forward that priority across the community boards, because it is such a common theme, is through a Driving Digital Locally subgroup. So there are representatives from each of the community boards who are coming together with the council's kind of team that are delivering around the kind of digital communities work stream. And key partners. So Richard Bolton and Ian White are the representatives for the Motherwell area, but they obviously can't be here tonight. So they've kind of asked me, because I've been at the past few Driving Digital Locally subgroup meetings, just to provide a brief update. So the focus for the Driving Digital Locally subgroup over the past wee while has really been engaging with Comms World, who are the organisation who have basically the contract for delivering around the digital infrastructure updates and upgrades across North Lanarkshire, making digital accessible to all, making sure that the infrastructure's in place. for communities to be able to engage digitally in a number of services, etc. So the Driving Digital Locally subgroup has been engaging with Comms World around the community benefits side of that investment. So there's been an element of it where they've been talking about how they can support linking back to the community boards, the communication that needs to take place about basically the massive infrastructure developments that will be taking place across North Lanarkshire and the opportunities that that presents for local communities in terms of digital inclusion. They've also been talking about there is a commitment from Comms World around supporting local projects and initiatives and supporting the delivery of the local outcome improvement plans. So there's been some early discussion about how that conversation now needs to take place through the community boards and at that local level. So as I say, the conversation's been very much about Comms World coming along the Driving Digital Locally subgroup and giving them a presentation on their plans and what the scope is around the community benefits side of things. The next step is really for those representatives to start to reach out into the community boards and link out through the community boards to have that discussion at a local level in terms of how communities can both influence the community benefits side of things, but also how they can have that understanding of what's going to be happening and help to communicate that across their local community and represent any of the kind of views or challenges for their community. So that's what's been happening in terms of the past few meetings, and I suppose in a broader sense, those representatives now need to be quite proactive in terms of understanding digital inclusion in their area and feeding in the views of local people and vice versa, taking the information that's been discussed at the Driving Digital Locally subgroup around Comms World activity and the community benefits, but also just more generally around activity and actions around digital inclusion at that more strategic level and how that then filters down out to local communities. So that's all really I've got to say at this point, but happy to take any comments or questions. As I say, I'm not the representative, I've just so happened that I've been at the past few meetings, so I was asked to give a brief update. Thank you.
Thanks, Leanne. So again, don't think, oh yeah, Councillor McGowan.
Hi, Leanne. Thanks for that. Can you give us an idea of what sort of things they would do for the community? You know, what's the you know, have they a list and have they you know, ideas that they can give you that they could do? I'm just not sure, you know, what exactly they can give to the community. I mean, can you give us some ideas of that?
Well, I think that's part of the discussion that needs to take place with Comms World and the wider community, and that discussion needs to move beyond. But in terms of the community benefits, they have committed to supporting, I suppose, any kind of local kind of project that assist with kind of driving forward the digital inclusion agenda. So whether that's about you know, hosting local community events, whether it's about looking at devices, whether it's about you know, making the infrastructure more accessible through voucher schemes and things like that. So there's a number of different ways that they can do that. But in terms of the kind of quantities and things like that, I think that's where Comms World probably need to be having that discussion in a more focused sense with the community boards at that local level and through the representatives. Because as I said, the earlier discussion's been very much just talking about what their plans are and taking feedback from how they might now start to engage with the wider community. So I would anticipate that the representatives, the Driving Digital Locally representatives, would be able to bring further information and maybe even a short presentation to the next community board meeting, or to share information between meetings, if that's okay.
Yeah, I think that would be useful. I'm just thinking that maybe they would get involved with elderly people, or you know, the agenda of you know, keeping people out of old folks' homes and hospitals. And you know, I went to visit the tech house at Allershaw Tower, you know, where they put different digital you know, devices in houses and help people to stay in their own house. So I suppose they could get involved in that sort of thing. Would that be something they would do for the community?
Yeah, I think they are open to suggestions. I mean, obviously, it's going to be, it's not the major kind of investment is around the infrastructure, but there are opportunities for kind of smaller scale, I suppose, community projects that can assist with digital inclusion at a local level. But I think they're open to suggestions, and I know there's been some engagement with Van El around the TechShare project and things like that as well, and if that could be supported. So I think you know, it's kind of open for discussion and debate.
Yeah, a presentation would be good, I think. I would certainly appreciate that.
I think
Okay,
maybe,
no bother.
yeah, certainly we can follow that up, Councillor McGowan, because I think Lynn Gow would maybe be able to come back, Leanne, and do that, because I think there's quite a lot of activity, you know, not just around the comms world, but there's other opportunities as well, I think, for the communities. So, Leanne, would that?
Yeah.
happy
Yeah,
to take-
absolutely. And it's Lynn that leads on supporting the Driving Digital locally subgroup. But as I say, the focus on the discussion at the last few meetings has been very much about engagement with Comms World. But as Pam says, that's not the only kind of show in town in terms of how we can work with communities around digital inclusion. There are loads of opportunities, and there are different ways that communities can be supported. That's just been the focus of the past few meetings. But certainly, I think when the representatives are here, and we can certainly ask Lynn. I know that Lynn was actually quite keen to try and share some information with the community boards quite soon anyway. So yeah, that's no problem. I'm happy to engage with Lynn about that.
Yeah,
Thank you very much.
Thanks, Councillor McGowan. Dana with her hand up, and then I think I had Michelle, but I've lost her on my screen. But is it Dana?
Yeah, I'm Dana from Community Action Ute Hill. I'm just newly appointed project coordinator. We want to get on board with digital inclusion. It was just to find out who the best contact was for it. I've got quite a few of the service users and volunteers who are older generation, who aren't quite tech savvy. So it was just to find out some more information about it, please, if possible.
Chair,
Yeah.
if you don't mind me coming back in, I'm more than happy, Dana, for you to make contact with my team in the first instance. And what we'll do is, because there's a number of, obviously there's Voluntary Action North Lanarkshire who do a lot of work around digital. There's obviously the colleges, and then you've got within the council as well, you've got community learning and development. We've got the kind of driving digital locally work. So there's quite a few people that are involved. Happy to connect you into that. No problem at all, and to have a discussion about what you're doing and if there's any way that we can support. So happy for you to come either via myself, Darren, or even Ros, who are on the call, and we kind of reach out and have a conversation with you and look at what supports are there and what you might want to get involved in.
Is it possible for you to even put your email address or contact number in the chat, and I can just get a hold of it and I can get in contact with you, please?
Yes, no problem at all. And maybe Darren and Ros are, I'm the manager for the whole of the South team, but Darren and Ros specifically focus on the Motherwell area. So we'll put our contact details in there, and you can email us all, and we can have a conversation about the best way to have a chat with you moving forward.
Okay, that'd be great. Thank you so much for that.
And welcome, Dana, as well. So apologies, I should should have done the let's go down the table thing at the start, but I just thought, as I say, most people had been on the call, so I'd say welcome.
Glad to be
the
here.
community board.
Thank you so
much.
much.
If you go through, as I say, Leanne's team, if you're looking for any contacts in the council, they'll be able to signpost you. So it's probably the easiest thing. I'm sure they'll thank me for saying that. Michelle, Michelle, I found you again. You're on my screen. Go for it.
Leanne mentioned TechShare, so I put my hand down, but then I'd also like to offer the services of Voluntary Action North Lanarkshire for any community benefit inquiries. Happy to help in any way if we can.
That's great. Thank you very much, Michelle. Okay, so I think that's all the hands. So it's a wee bit difficult to follow on WebEx, but I think that's us. Councillor McGowan, your hand's still up, but I think that is, as they say, a legacy hand. So we have, we'll move on. Thanks very much. So another sort of, important topic and priority is the community safety and community engagement. So we've got a couple of updates, I think. So first of all, Inspector James McCluskey, I think, is going to give us a verbal update from Police Scotland.
Yeah, evening everybody. Just to give you an update in the last couple of months in Police Scotland's perspective, for myself it's not been a bad few months. You might come back and tell me that's different. However, sort of Motherwell town centre and the surrounding areas, the sort of footfall in the town centre has increased by about 10%. And with that, there's been a decrease in youth disorder and shopping. So to me, that's quite positive over the last couple of months, and long may it continue. However, I'm not naive enough to think that it's gone away. So I'm still aware there is youths and a bit of shoplifting there, but we'll continue to concentrate on that as much as we can. Again, just in the same theme, Dan was talking about Duchess Park, which the cameras will be a good addition to there. Again, we've seen a slight decrease in the youths there. However, we're aware it's still ongoing, and Daisy Park as well, round about the Motherwell area. Just for your information, the Daisy Park, we ascertained it was actually youths from outside of Motherwell area coming across here and causing a bit of disorder. So we have identified them thanks to some of our Scottish Fire and Rescue colleagues. We identified a few from Coatbridge and they were charged and taken home. So that's helped that a wee bit down there as well. So overall, that picture's quite good for us. However, we're still not going to be naive enough to think it's going away, and we'll continue our action plans and as much presence in these areas as we can. I'm just going to move on a wee bit of preventive stuff we're trying to look at with Christmas coming up. But obviously these ongoing issues with quad bikes in there. So we're trying to get as much information out on social media about quad bikes, e-bikes, about the uses and how much you can and can't use. We've done a wee bit of work with Scottish Fire and Rescue about the e-bikes. I don't know if Graham will mention that, but these are getting left plugged in. They're not maybe from a genuine manufacturer, and it's causing fires in houses. So that's something we had to get out there to make people aware these e-bikes and e-scooters can be dangerous if left plugged in, especially if they're not from genuine suppliers from that way. Another one that's cropped up over the last week was doorstep crime. From our figures, it's not greatly a problem or a concern for us. However, I'm recognising that the public do see this as a big threat in the area. So it's something we'll get out there. We're going to try and get around some of the community hubs. We've worked with the NHS in sort of the warm hubs, and we're maybe going to try and link in with the warm hubs and get out there and provide that wee bit of reassurance what to do, because some of that sort of demographic or maybe not access to social media. I'm not saying everybody, but we want to try and hit as many different folk as we can, the ones that are maybe not using your Twitter, your Facebook. So we'll get round them with local community guys as well to do that. Again, we've got ongoing action plans with housing and antisocial team to sort of target the sort of people that are causing us the most issues in the Motherwell area. And over the next 5 weeks, we'll go out with them and on our own and make sure they're not having parties or causing disorder in the areas. This is something I brought over from South Lanarkshire from my previous role, and it worked really well over the festive period. The thought that ourselves or antisocial team are going to go and chat their doors at some point sort of restricted the amount of calls coming out and the disorder. So hopefully that has the same effect. Again, something I know it's popped up in these meetings before is the speeding in certain areas. And from that, I've got probably all my officers now trained on the speed gun usage. So we're trying to get out there as much as we can to influence the sort of flow of traffic and users of the roads. So that's a real positive at that point as well over there. Just to finish on, just for your information, some good results over the last few months. Sort of the Muirhouse area, we recovered 10,000 tablets, a local community team acting a bit of intelligence. So there's these blue tablets that are out there that are causing a lot of harm. So that's 10,000 recovered, which was a really great result. Again, we've noticed a wee increase in cannabis cultivations. We've had a couple of 200 plus cultivations in the area. So that's something we're keeping an eye on as well, that these are going to start back up. They seem to have went away for about 6 months, but the sort of crime groups are starting to utilise houses again to do this. So something we'll keep in mind. Just on the town centre, there was a male and female arrested for 15 shopliftings. So we identified them for 15 different shopliftings and reported for that. So that was another really good bit of work in the area. And again, the stop searches were really concentrating on stopping the right folk in these areas. And I know it's a big publicity thing about stop searching, but over the period we have got a youth with a knife and a knuckle duster, 2 different folk over that period. So it shows me that we need to go out there, stop searching folk, but it has to be the right folk, as we said. But that's really, really good results. But overall, pretty decent few months for ourselves, but I'm more than happy to take any feedback or any questions anybody's got. Councillor, yourself.
Thank you, Jim. Councillor Brennan, do you want to come in?
Thank you, Pam, and thanks, Jim, for that update. And it's good that we've got some good news, progress certainly around Duchess Park. Just a couple of observation, well, one observation that from my perspective, I wonder what your thoughts are around the busing situation is the fact that younger people now have access to buses for free. Is this problematic in terms of people taking minor community crime from their own area into other areas, and is that the reason for what we've seen at Duchess Park recently? Also, in terms of speeding, in Ewart Hill, we have some problems around Moss Hall Street, and I think that's been reported a few times. Maybe if officers are out, that's one of the areas that they could potentially be looking at. That comes up at the community council almost on a monthly basis. And again, just in Ewart Hill around graffiti around the area at the pavilion at Welfare Park and at the back of the bowling green in particular. If those if officers on foot or in that area can keep an eye on that would be great.
Councillor, no issue at all. I'm aware of that. Yeah, the bus travel, it's something we've linked to me British Transport Police with the trains as well, the free travel on the trains they get. Not so much in Motherwell. We don't have the big issue in Motherwell. You will all be aware the major issues they had sort of between Coatbridge and High Street in Glasgow over the last 6-7 months ago. But it's not spilled quite as much over to the Motherwell area, which is good. However, yeah, there could be a wee bit with the Duchess and Daisy Park that have moved there. That's why the kids were down there. So we'll keep an eye on that. The Ewart Hill speeding, yeah, we've done a wee bit of work up there, councillor. And it's perception that's actually probably not going as fast as people think, but I'm well aware it's tight in the way the cars are parking. I think they appear to be going fast and they are, but it's something we will keep monitoring, and I'll get the officers back up there again. And the vandalism stuff, yeah, we'll make sure we're up there. We've got a local campus officer up that way as well, and we'll get him to try and get a wee bit of intel in regards to who's possible doing that vandalisms, but we'll keep an eye on that, councillor, not an issue.
Thanks, Jim. I don't see any other. Oh, sorry, Councillor Rob.
Hi, Jim. One of the things I'd like to ask you, it's a bit of a hot topic within council at the moment, is parking issues around schools. And I was just wondering how the police are dealing with that.
Yeah, council, not a problem at all. Just for your information, the parking's obviously a remit of the council now. We will look at parking, but only if it's under the Road Traffic Act, if it's causing an obstruction or dangerous or careless driving. The actual whole, every school in Scotland, I think now, primary school, secondary, because of the size of them and how close our communities, has this same parking issue. We will assist as much as we can. However, we tend not to take the parking issue on. We try and link in with the school to take it on, or ask the council or the traffic wardens to do that. But we will, if there's any danger there or obstructions, we will try and take that on, councillor.
Councillor Rob, I can maybe add to that. So I maybe shouldn't tell you this, but I've now got responsibility for Jim Maguire's team, which also includes the parking enforcement. So I'd be happy to give you an update in terms of the council's position. But I suppose and I know it's an issue Ewart Hill Community Council have also raised with us in terms of parking enforcement. But I suppose just for awareness, the council has, only has 4 parking enforcement officers. So it's really can't be every school every morning. I know there's particular challenges around parking, and again, Jim can correct me if I'm wrong, because this is all new to me and I'm learning as we go. But even things like parking on pavements, I don't think is necessarily an offence, even though it's potentially dangerous. So I think there's a number of challenges, but I can certainly give you an update, as I say, after the meeting in terms of the council's what the council's doing around schools to try and improve safety.
Yeah, Chair, you're right. It's not offence to park on the pavement, it's offence to drive up on the pavement. It's one of these silly legislative errors. So if we don't actually see them driving up there, and they're on the pavement, we can't really do much. It's unless we see them drive off again. It's a strange one. Just for your information, Spring Hall done a parking ride. You want to let you park within a mile of the school, and initially I thought this is never going to work. I think it was only a trial at the time, and it was a great success. But it's this whole, I think if one of the other meetings we had, maybe Dan came back up on this, we had a discussion about this. It's a total change the whole mindset of people to try and park further away from the school. And unfortunately in Scotland we all want to park as close as we can. Even in a shopping centre they were trying to park right next to the shop rather than park away. So we need to try and change that mindset. But we're more than happy to go into the schools, try and get schools to send letters out, which helps to try and help that out. But yeah, it's an issue that's not going to go away anytime soon, I think.
Okay. Councillor Brennan want to come back in?
Thanks, Pam, and it's one for you now that you get this new responsibility around parking. I'm obviously still learning a lot as a relatively new councillor, particularly around issues of parking and markings and all the rest of it. But there was something went on the website last week that identified a whole list of schools that were going to be prioritised, if you like, for markings around it. In my ward, I think Taylor was the only school that was identified at Coffin Street, so that's going to be included in it. If other schools were to be included in it, how would they go about being prioritised? Is it really just something that you continuously bring up as an issue, and then the more it's reported, the higher priority it gets, or is there a formal process for identifying areas that could benefit from that?
I'll get an update from Gary Wood on that for you, Councillor Brennan. I did see an email response that he had provided in terms of what the rollout programme was, but to be honest, I'm not sure how the prioritisation was established, but I can certainly find out for you and let you know. Councillor McGowan?
Just to say, I would like that too, because I didn't understand why Now Talk wasn't on it, because people would take their car in the school door there if they possibly could. And the head teacher's done absolutely everything she can and has written home, stands out there, teachers stand out. I actually asked people to move when they're parked in double yellow lines. And, the parking, I've had the parking wardens out, and, that made a slight difference for a wee while. Now people forget again. But I just don't know why some are included and some aren't, because, I know that 3 in David Rognai's ward, Muirhouse, St Brendan's and Now Talk are just disastrous at 3 o'clock. It's unbelievable. So I would like to know why Now Talk wasn't on that list.
Okay. So I'll get a wee briefing pulled together, and again we can put that out through the Community Matters team, just so that everybody's getting an update on that, if that would be helpful. Okay, so stimulated a bit of discussion there around the parking. Is there any other hands up? No, so nothing else for Jim at the moment. Okay, thanks. Oh, sorry, Michelle.
Can I come in? Thank you. I was just going to ask, is Ladywell Primary on that list? Does anyone know? Not sure. The reason I'm asking is because the main entrance has got all the signs, and there's another entrance on Scotia Street, and that's where everybody parks. And it's on quite a bend, and there's an island. And sometimes when you drive past there, it's quite frightening seeing young kids standing waiting to cross. So I don't know if something needs looked at round about Ladywell Primary as well.
Yeah, as I say, I'll get an update on the rollout of that, but I don't know how the areas were prioritised. Okay. Happy to move on. So I think the next update was from Scottish Fire and Rescue Service, the Station Commander Graham Morrow. Graham, are you going to give the update?
Yep, thanks, Chair. So, as you say, my name is Graham Morrow and I'm the Station Commander for Motherwell Fire Station and Cumbernauld. I've already submitted my Q2 board report, highlight that kind of gives the extensive work that our crews and community safety teams have been involved in over the last period in the last quarter. This has included significant engagement with our local schools, where in the lead up to Bonfire Night we visited every primary and high school across the Lanarkshire area to deliver sort of detailed fire safety advice. And as Darren's already touched upon, we're working on a project with Darren and our facility management team, Robertson's, to create a community garden within the grounds of the fire station. And again, that will build on the excellent ongoing project that we've currently got within the station grounds with the Wild Garden and the Lanarkshire Bee Society, where we've got our 9 beehives. And yeah, I think everything else has really been covered in my board report, and I'm happy to take any questions if anybody's got any on it.
Thanks, Graham. And yeah, that was circulated, I think, with the agenda and the papers. So hopefully people have had a chance to have a look at that. Are there any questions for Graham at the moment or points? No, don't see any hands up. So thanks, Graham. We can move on. In terms of the updates from Van El, I think, Michelle, you're going to do that.
Thanks, Chair. We also have distributed a fairly extensive report. So if anyone has, I'm not going to go through that at this meeting. I've got another update here, but if anyone has any questions, please feel free to ask and I'll address them for you. But I'd like to update you on the locality network events. Now, these are events that have taken place for many years. They finished, well, they stopped in December 2019, and I'm delighted to say that they just started again last month. So we have some people here that attended. I can see some people that were at the Motherwell and Bellshill event, and also we have a couple of people here in the past that have been speakers, including Leanne and Roz. So they are a great opportunity for the community and voluntary sector to come together and hear from a number of speakers. We've taken the decision, we now have 4 events across North Lanarkshire, but obviously I'll be updating you on the Motherwell and Bellshill event this evening. So that took place on the 29th of November within Forgewood Community Centre. We had a number of different speakers, and we've had some feedback since the event to say that a lot of people enjoyed it. They're looking forward to the next one. So these events take place twice a year. So the next round will be in about 6 months' time. What we're hoping to do is get the dates for 2023 published and agreed and get the venues booked so that we know when the dates are. Normally we've had some people approach us to be speakers already, which is really encouraging and very good to hear. And at the last event, we had a general sector update, which Van El provided. We had an update from Full On. We had an update on the Hollytown Climate Action Town project, which was really interesting. They're having an event coming up. We had also Paul Gunn from North Lanarkshire Council giving us an update, the Bellshill Strathclyde Park update. And I believe Dan Scott, who's here, is involved with that. Richard Bolton gave us an update on what's happening in Forgewood Community Centre. There's a lot of great activity going on there. They've got a huge big screen and having a cinema evening. So that's great for local people to attend. So that's a sort of typical format. We have 6 to 8 speakers, we have networking, and I will say to you, the events are 3 hours. People were there about 20 minutes early and were there a half an hour after the event, and they were still talking. So it's absolutely amazing to see the networking happening. We have an information table where people can bring their information and share it with others, and collect information from other groups that are within the locality. I would encourage anybody to sign up for the Van El bulletins, because that's where we will send information on when these events are taking place. I'll obviously update here at the community board as well in due course. And if anyone is interested in the actual speakers that we had in the presentations, they will be available on the Van El website very soon. So if you missed that, there's an opportunity to see what people were updating on. And I think that's all for the event. If anyone's got any questions or anything about the events, happy to answer if I can.
Okay, thanks, Michelle.
Okay, thank you.
And just so as soon as you've got the dates, it's in the 6 monthly. So I suppose just as soon as you've got that, that'd be great. I'm sure there'd be a few updates. Certainly we could feed in as well.
Great, thank you.
a quick question. Did we get emails? Did councillors get emails out about that, Michelle? About the events? I must have missed that.
They were shared in all of our social media and our bulletins. I don't know if it went. If you're on our mailing list, you would have received it. Are you on our mailing list, Councillor McGowan?
I don't know.
Right. We'll get that sorted if you're not. So as I say, what I would do, I would encourage you or anybody here to sign up for the bulletins, because that gives you all the information. But I'll certainly get you added on to the list.
I'm not very good at following social media.
That's all right. That's okay. We'll get that sorted for you.
Right. Thank
Michelle, if anything like that, presumably if you could let the Community Matters team know, they can circulate it to the...
I know that it was in our update that was sent out. The details were in there. So yes, we'll make that a priority for us going forward. Thank you.
Okay. Any other? Leanne, is your hand up there?
Say what you said, Pam, that it's always worth sending. I know sometimes it's happened in the past, Michelle, where we've circulated information about the events, but if you just send them to our team, we can, it's just a kind of double done, I suppose. We can send them out to the community board members, and they're getting them via email from us as well. So
just as
in
a
case anybody's missed.
No problem. Thank you for that.
Okay, that's great. Thanks, Michelle. So I think certainly a lot of interest in that. Okay, so if we're okay to move on from the LOIP updates, going to Community Matters, and I think Sandra had put on the Calder Court Motherwell update on the tower demolition, so which immediately got me into a panic that something's gone wrong. What have I to find out about? So, Sandra, I'm hoping that's not the case, but
no.
Over to you.
Right, no. We just want to give you a quick update on the ongoing demolition works at the towers and the ex-gym on Raffin Street. The gym building has actually been reduced to rubble about a couple of weeks ago, but there was no disruption whatsoever going down Raffin Street, because they kept hosing down the rubble as it was coming down, so there wasn't a lot of dust and whatever. And the workmen who are working over at the towers are very good. They remove all their big containers at night that are full and deliver an empty one for the next morning. So there's been absolutely no problems at all with the demolition at the moment at the towers. So I just wanted to say at the moment everything is going okay, basically. So we're quite happy. We'll wait and see what happens in the new year when they talk about actually bringing them down. You know, I don't know whether Scottish Power have sorted things yet about it's something to do about isolating the power supply, and that was the hold up, and that's why it's next year now. So we'll just wait and see. But that's it.
Yeah. No, I appreciate that, and I will pass on that to the team. I mean, I think, as you say, relatively happy with progress so far. It is, as I think we maybe said before, not going to be a quick process for obvious reasons in terms of the proximity of the towers to surrounding houses and the challenges that brings. So yeah, I think you're right, Sandra. There've been a few delays in relation to the power cables, but the update I got from the team was that the residents will see the mast climbers, I think, going up in Corsington Tower in the new year, and that'll be they then will in effect start demolition from the inside, and the materials will come out and down from using the mast climbers. So you'll obviously see that activity. So we'll certainly keep everybody updated, and if there's any other feedback, you're obviously very well placed in terms of being able to give us any notice of any issues that you're experiencing. So certainly appreciate that, but I'll certainly pass on your comments to the team.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
Thanks, Sandra. Anybody else want to come in on that in terms of the demolition? Agnes, I think that is your hand up for that, or was that from before? That's fine. Okay, so moving on then, just in terms of the standing agenda items, in terms of my update, that anything from the community coordinators we're known now. I think just a couple of things I wanted to raise or highlight. First of all, I did make reference to the station works, and I think we spoke about this the last time, and it has been there have been a number of delays, as I'm sure everybody that lives in Motherwell will know, in terms of the work to Muir Street and the link to as it is the works to the station, which is again, there's been more extensive work required there than was originally anticipated, and that has had a knock-on effect and impact in terms of the work to Muir Street. So again, we are kind of working closely with Balfour Beatty, the contractor for both, which is the contractor for both the station and the Muir Street works, to try and get the works completed as quickly as possible, and to at the very least get the bus stop reopened. So I think the latest update I've got on that is that we are hoping to at least get the bus stop reopened before Christmas. But in terms of the wider works, it's now likely that that will go into the new year. In terms of the Muir Street works, I think slightly more positive news in terms of the station, where I think they're hoping that again that those works should be completed around about February time. So it's, as I say, not ideal, particularly given the time of year, but everything that we can do in terms of getting the works completed has been done as quickly as possible. But again, happy to get further updates to people to make sure that you're kept up to date. I don't know if there's any any questions on that, Councillor Brennan.
The church that's affected by the Muir Street works, I can't remember the name of it, but the minister contacted me in a bit of a spin because of the sits right on the main street, and we are in the middle of the Advent and Christmas period, and he is beside concerned that his church is not going to be accessible to all. So I guess I'm on here to ask, what are the plans around the Advent Christmas period, where many people will wish to go to places of worship, and that one in particular, what we are going to be doing to allow and encourage access to it.
Thanks, Councillor Brennan. Yeah, so I think was it the Calvary Church? Yeah. So I think, yes, I think there was a sort of failure in terms of maybe communicating with the church in terms of the work. This is linked to the work I mentioned earlier about the active travel works in terms of the upgrades there. So Kirsty's happy. I think she's offered to meet with the church representative just to discuss what can be done. But yeah, I think you're right. There is obviously some impact in terms of the on-street parking. So, but we're happy to meet with the representative, and I think she's made that offer. So I'll just ask that she gives you a feedback in terms of how she gets on with that. If that's okay.
Thank you, Pam.
Okay. So on the that was, I suppose, the update. Hopefully things will come to a conclusion in the new year. The other area that I think again we mentioned before, and some members on the meeting have participated in, was the developing of the town action plan, which is linked to the town visions that you'll be aware were approved last year. So we're planning to do some more consultation and engagement around the action plans about, and I suppose it links obviously to a lot of things we've been discussing earlier, and some of the works around the station as well, and the housing projects and other works in the town centre. So it's about trying to join everything up and look to the future. So there is consultation that's planned around the Motherwell Town Action Plan, and there's going to be I think about a 6-week period from the 10th of January to the 21st of February, where there'll be an exhibition and staff in the library in Motherwell. So again, I think we've circulated some, or will circulate further detail through the Community Matters team. But if I could just encourage everybody on the call who either to come along and participate in that, or to hopefully spread the word so that we can get as much engagement. So clearly, when we were doing a lot of the original engagement around the town visions, it was during COVID, so it was all online, which has got pros and cons, but obviously this is an opportunity. This will also be online, but in terms of maybe people wanting to sort of see things, come in and see the plans and talk to staff face to face, that would be taking place in the library. So just a bit of a plug for that. And finally, I think again, just in terms of the community boards themselves. So believe it or not, I think this is the 8th meeting of the community boards in this kind of new format, or certainly the new iteration of the community boards, and we're intending to undertake a review in terms of how people think it's working, maybe areas for we could do things better. Obviously, the whole sort of focus of the purpose of the community boards being to deliver on the local outcome improvement priorities that the community have identified as being important to them, and this is one sort of way of making sure that we're enhancing community participation, making sure that we're delivering on those priorities. So this is an opportunity for everybody to have their say in terms of how you think the community boards are operating. So I think the intention is to issue an online survey. I think that's due to come out in the middle of December, and there'll be an opportunity again for everybody to input to that. So I think, I don't know, Leanne, if there's any other details on when that will come out, but I think that's the briefing I got was the middle of December.
At the middle of December, and I suppose we would just urge anybody who's involved in the community boards to just to make it clear that it will be anonymous. So you won't, nobody will be kind of sharing your name or who said whatever. It's all going to be done anonymously. So we would really urge people to be honest, because we really want this to help us to look at improvement actions and what we can build on and things like that. So we've just been told the middle of December. I suppose the other thing, Pam, sorry, maybe you were going to say this, but was that it will come out from Ken Adamson, the council's, I'm going to get Ken's title wrong now, aren't I?
Head of Audit and Risk.
Head of Audit and Risk. And that's just to make sure that it's that there's that kind of objective approach, and that it's coming out from someone who's not kind of connected, and that's kind of Ken's role within the council. One of your roles is to make sure that we're effectively auditing how things are working. And the other thing I suppose I would just say is it's looking at the community, but it's a self-assessment of the community boards, but it's not just the community boards. The community boards are part of the community planning process in North Lanarkshire, so we'll be looking at the community boards, the NLP Strategic Leadership Board, which is all the chief executives of all the public sector agencies working together in North Lanarkshire, and we'll also look at the officers at all different levels who are supporting community boards and community planning, but I suppose the focus for you will be on the community boards.
And feel free to, positive comments as well, anything that you want to say has worked well as well. Michelle?
Thank you. I just wanted to check, I know that we have promoted attendance at the community boards at various times. One of the conversations I had at the Locality Network event was someone said that they do not wish to do things online. So my question is, how are we going to, is there plans to do something more than an online questionnaire survey about this? I know we had the same discussion last time with the venue, wasn't it, at the last meeting? So it's how do we do that? Maybe we could have something at the warm places. Maybe people can feedback in there or something. But it was just to ask what the plans are for people that are not online. Thank you.
Okay, that's a good point, Michelle. Certainly, maybe Leanne, I've not as far as I'm aware, this was the initial sort of stage, if you like, and I'm sure there'll be sort of more follow up. But the initial stage was online, but I would assume there would also be an opportunity for people to complete that in hard
Yeah,
copy.
I think what I would say is it is largely an online survey, and that I suppose there is that thing about it being anonymous and stuff like that. But I suppose if there was, I suppose what we can feed back in is that there is a bit of concern about who that'll reach. I think, though, what I would want to reiterate is that this is about the assessment of the community board, so it's about the community board members. This is not a wider community consultation. It's really about people who are already participating in community boards, and kind of looking at the effectiveness from their perspective. So I suppose there's less of a need for us to look at as wide participation, although we want to broaden the participation within the community boards. This is pretty much about community board representatives who have been accessing online today and what their views are. But we can certainly feed in that it's been raised tonight that it might be useful to look at other methods of collecting some information. Happy to feed that into the team that are leading.
Thank you.
Thanks, Leanne. I think Councillor Brennan was going to come up. Sorry, Councillor Nolan first.
Thanks, Pam. Thank you. So I'm sorry to go back to the first item you mentioned. I had wanted to get detail up in front of me of the person who'd asked. There was correspondence went out to all the councillors from someone at Transportation Engineering, and it was to do with Muir Street Extension traffic order, and it was asking for comments and feedback. To be back with them by 12th of December. And I had therefore made me wonder, is this that's been given to us still kind of fluid, or is there definite plans as to how the traffic and the parking and etc. will work, or is it still a fluid matter? And see the road, the new road that runs kind of parallel with Muir Street, is it going to be open to all traffic or just taxis? Thank you.
Councillor Nolan, I can again get Kirsty to contact you to give you a full update, and but certainly know that the new road, the new stretch of road isn't for all traffic. It's for as you say, taxis. So happy to get an update to you from Kirsty, if that'd be helpful.
Yeah, that'd be lovely, Pam. Thank you. The thing that threw me was that it actually had a drop-off point, and it left me then confused as to whether it would be a drop-off point for everyone.
Right.
Okay, that's lovely.
Okay.
Thank you for that.
Okay, I'll get that. Councillor Brennan, you want to come back in?
Yeah, just quickly, Pamela, and I wonder if it would be possible, Leanne, if you would be kind enough to have a 5-minute Teams call with me at some point. As a new councillor, David, I don't know how you feel about this, but as a new councillor, you're absolutely immersed in all the workings and different bits of the council, and it's about finding out for me where community matters link in with everything. So I could do with just a quick 5 minutes. I think I know how it works, but I'm not entirely sure how it works. So if Leanne would be kind enough to spare 5 minutes for a Teams call at your convenience, that would be great.
Of course, councillor, if you don't mind me coming back into it, it's not a problem to do that. We did deliver when the kind of start of the kind of term for the new councillors, there was an induction. We can certainly run through that, because I know not all councillors were able to make that as part of their induction. Myself and my colleague Matt Costello did an overview of the work of our team and how that kind of connects into and supports different elements of the council and how we work with partner agencies. So we can certainly run through that with you if you weren't able to make that. And we also do specific briefings on specific topics at different points in times, but happy to have a chat with you and explain all that to you and go over it with you.
Many thanks.
Okay. Thanks, Leanne. Okay. No other questions then on that. So terms of the local development programme update, Leanne, are you taking that?
Yes, sorry, I couldn't get off mute there. Yeah, this is just the standard report that comes to community board meetings. The report was circulated with the papers, so I won't go into any great detail. But just in terms of anyone who's newer to the board, and we've got a few people tonight, just to reiterate that the local development programme, or the LDP, as we refer to it at times, is a capital programme, and it can only be used for capital projects on council land. So by that we mean projects, physical projects that you know, whether it's around parking improvements or whether it's around creations of like kind of community gardens, signage, things like that, physical projects. Local development programme can cover a range of things. We look at play provision, we look at heritage features, we look at, as I said, parking, and we're always encouraging local communities to identify projects through completion of a project proposal forum. So Darren or Ros would be able to share the proposal forum with you. The forum enables us to gather very basic information that ensures the project meets the criteria and can be funded before we start to progress to any further detailed feasibility or development work. The LDP's it's quite a fluid kind of programme, so communities will identify projects, we'll look at getting the proposal forum completed and make sure that we're saying right, it meets basic criteria. But at times, sometimes when we then move to the more detailed feasibility work, something can come up that means the costs can be prohibitive or whatever. But there are many projects that we do deliver on an annual basis. So the LDP is a 5-year programme, and we're currently in year 2. The budget for this year for Motherwell is 219,105. We're not seeking approval, as far as I'm aware, for any particular. Darren or Ros can let me know if I've missed anything, but I don't think we're not seeking approval for any additional projects tonight. The focus at this point in the year is really getting the projects that we've committed to for this year delivered and you know, out programmed and at least committed to. But as always, we would encourage local groups to speak to us. So if you think, or there's an idea, there's a piece of land in my community that I think could be better used, or there's, you know, I'm worried about something in my community, come forward with ideas that you've got, especially, and we would really encourage you if they link to the LOIP priorities. That you know, we really would like to see projects coming through that we can then link through the LOIP priorities and support delivery of those. But just please engage with us regarding any projects that you think merit consideration, and we can advise and support you through the process. And even if it's a project that eventually doesn't meet the criteria, we can engage with other services within the council, other partner agencies, or look at alternative external funding options where appropriate. So it's not, you know, everything that our team does isn't about LDP funding, but we do have that pot of fat funding for small scale community projects that have got like a lot of support within the community. I'm happy to take any comments or questions.
And Alison had a question.
I was just going to say, please, could I have a chat with you, Leanne, or someone else if appropriate, or could you send me the information and I can have a look at it, and your how I, you know, could maybe follow up with you in the next few weeks.
Of course, Alison. I'll put the link to the information, any information that we've got online in the chat bar, but please make contact with myself, Darren or Ros from within my team. Our email addresses are on the chat bar, and we'll talk through any ideas with you, and as I say, look at feasibility and whether it's something that fits with the criteria, and even if not, we're always wanting to talk about community ideas and how we can work collectively with our partners to support those where appropriate.
Okay, great, thanks.
Thank you.
Okay, thanks, Leanne. Don't see any other hands up for questions, so we can move on to AOCB. So I've got a couple of items noted. First of all, Leanne, the budget consultation.
Yeah, so the council is currently undertaking its annual budget consultation process. We're holding a series of, at this point, online budget engagement community focus groups, and they are focus groups. So again, it's not, we're not hosting like big wide community events. There are focus groups that are taking place with equalities groups and in different formats. But in terms of the locality work, it's very much focused on focus groups through the community boards. This is just to really gain an understanding of community priorities and to provide local people with an opportunity to feed into the important decisions about services and budgets. We would really urge people to sign up for the session for Motherwell. If you can at all make it. As I say, this is a really important opportunity for communities to have their say in what's important to them, and ultimately that information will be then fed through to elected members for when they're making decisions around the budget, a budget setting kind of early next year. So the focus group for Motherwell is on Wednesday the 14th of December. Information's already been circulated via the community boards. Email addresses, or through the Community Matters email address, sorry, to all of the community boards, and I will put that email address on the chat bar. If you wish to attend, and again, I would really encourage you to come along and have your say, just contact Community Matters and provide your information, your contact information in the area that you want to come. So Motherwell in this instance. Once you've contacted us, we'll issue you a link to the calendar invite, and I will just copy that onto the chat bar. So that you've got information and you can contact the Community Matters mailbox. Again, happy to take any questions that people have.
Okay. Thanks, Leanne. Oh, sorry, Dana.
Sorry, I've actually just emailed earlier on tonight regarding that. Do I need to email again, or is it okay just to leave it now? Just
Have you already? Have you emailed to say that you wish to attend, Dana?
Just emailed just to basically find out the information on it. I'm just recently in this post, so I'm just trying to get as much information and get the ball rolling, basically. So it was just to see if there was any spaces left. That was all. And
yeah, there are spaces left. I know that. So we'll make sure. I think Ros can and Darren can probably go in and check the Community Matters mailbox just to check that your email's there. But we'll make sure that from tonight that you're added to the mailing list. As long as you've sent us an email address, or if even you want to put your email address on the chat bar, we can get you added to the calendar invite for that, Dana.
That'd be great. Okay. Thank you. Yeah, it's just for all the minutes for like these meetings, can I get sent them, please? Because they've been getting sent to the chairperson for CAN, but obviously I've got an email address now, so can I just get added onto the mailing list for like the minutes and the next invitations for it, please?
That's yes, okay. Of course. I think Ros, Darren, can you arrange for that to happen? Thanks.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Councillor McGowan.
Silly question, but I don't know the answer, so it's probably very simple. But you know, people keep saying they're putting things on the chat bar, you know, for people to get their email addresses, and Pamela, you put on the action plan and the link to that. How do you get the links from that to an email, or because you know this meeting disappears when we finish? How do you get the information from there?
A stupid question at all. I
know in Teams, you know, I put the action plan in, but when the meeting ends, all the stuff's got away as far as I'm concerned. So how do you easily get it? I'm sure people do that.
Yeah, I think, Chair, if you don't mind me just coming in, I think I'm assuming, well, we generally tend to share after the meeting the kind of key information that's been shared on the chat bar and people's emails and things. But it's a fair point that we probably should check before we go off and just make sure that we've covered everything. So if anybody's emails or anything have been shared, we need to make sure that we've got them. So there's no problem with us just we can go in after or go in at the end of the meeting and just make sure we can kind of copy the chat bar and make sure that everything that's on there is actioned. And if it's information that's relevant to everybody that's here, we'll make sure that that's shared, if you know what I mean. So if it's somebody's personal email address that they don't want everybody to have, we'll just kind of keep a hold of that if they've only given it for that for a certain purpose. But if it's, you know, a link to a consultation or something, we'll absolutely make sure it's circulated. I mean, the only way I can think to do it would be if it was something relevant to you, you would just copy it and paste it somewhere to keep it safe. But that's not very convenient.
Yeah,
So we'll make
copy
sure
and
we
paste
share all
it.
the information.
So copy and paste it before the meeting ends.
Yeah, but I think we'll make sure that anything that we've shared in terms of links to anything is shared with the community board via the community matters mailbox.
It's just people kept saying, and I'll put that in the chat board, and I thought I would like that, but it's on there. I don't know how to get it. Right, that's fine. So you'll share all these things.
Yeah, it's a good point. As I say, with Teams, it's always there, but I don't know if with WebEx, as I say, if it disappears after the meeting. Don't know. Okay.
I'm actually not 100% sure myself, but I know that we can copy the chat bar and keep a hold of it so that that's all incorporated into the actions for the note for the minute of the meeting.
Okay, thanks.
Thank
that's
you.
a good point. Okay, so we okay to move on. That's the budget consultation, the plug for that.
Councillor Bob had his hand up.
Oh, sorry. See him, Councillor Bob. Apologies.
No, Pam, it was just to say I actually knew the answer to that question there.
All right, good.
If you're lucky enough to be using the app on your laptop, if you've got an older laptop, actually you can go back into it and the stuff's there. But unfortunately, I'm probably like Jerry. I've got one of the newer laptops and we have to connect using the web browser. So once you close that web browser, it's gone. So that's the problem. Technology.
Yeah. Okay. Well, thanks.
I access via the app, so it's good to know that. I didn't even realise that because we're so used to using Teams nowadays, aren't we? That we forget how WebEx works.
You know, and we loved WebEx to start with, didn't we? We were big WebEx fans, but with all Teams now. Okay, we'll move that on then. I think, Leanne, there's a further opportunity for participation in the Scottish Parliament Community Planning Inquiry.
Yeah, sorry, I keep muting myself and then taking ages to get back in. Apologies. Yeah, so it's just again, I'll post it in the chat bar. It's already been circulated to the community board, but we'll circulate again. It's just to say that there's currently a Scottish Parliamentary inquiry into community planning. As you know, or as many people will know, the community boards are part of community planning in North Lanarkshire. That's where communities come together with local authorities, other public sector agencies, police, fire, health, etc., around shared priorities, and that's where our LOIPs, or local outcome improvement plans, kind of sit. That's the context for them. So we would just kind of, the inquiry is asking for different people to participate, but there is specifically a survey that members of the public who are involved in community planning, as opposed to officers or organisations, and they're really urging people to share their experience through this survey. So again, I'll share in the chat bar and we'll share after the meeting, and we've also already shared information in relation to that. And again, it's just another opportunity for people to get involved and to really have their say. So I'll just share that in the chat bar now and encourage you to have a wee look at that. Okay.
Thanks, Leanne. Okay, so Darren, I think we're going to maybe give an update on the community drop-in points in terms of the work that's been done there.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. Yes, absolutely. So as you're aware, the community drop-in points, in response to the cost of living crisis, the council launched the cost of living campaign to help support residents who are, I guess, more than ever at the moment under unprecedented financial hardship this winter, especially with energy costs and so forth. I mean, I'm sure we're all looking at our energy bills at this moment in time. But anyway, as part of this campaign, it included a £450,000 funding to support, which was support for voluntary and community organisations to provide an enhanced service at their existing community drop-in spaces for people within that community. Now, these facilities have been backed up by, I think they call them welcome hubs, council-run premises such as libraries, community and leisure centres, and so forth, where we're encouraging people to drop in, without any stigma. Now, we've had 65 organisations who have successfully received a one-off grant funding for the period 1st of November to the 31st of March 2023 to deliver this enhanced cost of living support to help tackle the immediate crisis facing many individuals and families in our community. Now, of those 65, 7 are in Motherwell, which is kind of consistent.
Is Darren frozen? Is it just me?
I think it's just Darren.
All right.
He has frozen.
And he's in the Civic.
I know.
I'm
Darren,
sorry,
you back?
am I back?
He's back. He's back.
Yeah.
So, apologies. Where did I lose you? Because I kept talking.
I think you were just talking about how many facilities there were.
There was 7
Okay.
in Motherwell.
Lovely, thank you. Yes, so of those 65, 7 organisations are in Motherwell, and essentially they're using their venues, their premises, as a place for warmth, a place for a hot drink, something to eat, a space to meet and chat to people, access Wi-Fi, receive information, advice and guidance, amongst other things, but those are the main ones. Of those 70 community drop-in points across Motherwell, they include Dalziel St Andrew's Church, Community Action Newark Hill, Fordwood Housing Cooperative, Glencastle's Community Development Project, Motherwell Baptist Church, the Motherwell Football Club Community Trust, and St Patrick's RC Church. And we have just received our first monitoring forms from those groups, and quite encouragingly, people are starting to make use of these spaces, and mostly they are using it for warmth and a cup of tea and a chat. And we've got between 20 and 50 who have attended most of those venues over the past 2 weeks. So after a slow start, people are certainly starting to use them, especially now with the cold weather starting to grip. And those who have been making the most of these spaces have been senior citizens, so those aged 60 plus, people with a disability or a long-term health condition, and families. So those are the 3 main demographic of people who have been using them, which is encouraging to see. Obviously, like I said, with the cold weather now kind of taking hold, especially this week, we anticipate more people to start using these community drop-in centres across Motherwell and North Lanarkshire wide. And we'll be continuing to monitor the effectiveness of this fortnightly, just so that we are able to identify any areas of additional support that we can provide for some of those organisations. I know there are a couple of organisations who are providing these drop-in spaces are on this call tonight. So I just want to say a big thank you for engaging in this campaign, because I've been out to visit a couple in Motherwell and a couple in Bellshill, and it's great to see people actually making the most of this without stigma as well, which is really important. These spaces are there for people to take advantage of and access what they need. A full list of our community drop-in points can be found on the council website. I'll put the link in the chat, but I will share it once again with members as well. So that's where we're at with the community drop-in points. It's going to be ongoing until the 31st of March. I welcome any questions.
Thanks, Darren. Yeah, it's a really positive update. I don't know if Dawn or Dana want to add anything in terms, because I think their organisations are involved in terms of how things are going.
I'm happy to talk from Motherwell. Ours was really
Sorry.
slow to
Thanks,
start
Dawn.
with. Oh, am I still muted? That muted? No. Bizarre.
We can hear you, Dawn.
Hear me now, sorry. Ours was pretty slow to start, but it's picked up now, and it's been really positive, and we're grateful to the council and to Vanel for their support. We're just doing free soup from the electric bar, free teas, coffees, cakes. We've got the World Cup on. We've got free Wi-Fi. We've got some tablets out because some of the people are telling us they would like to FaceTime, or they can't have broadband. It's things that we didn't necessarily think of at that point that they've said, and it's certainly picked up. We're doing 2 just now, and we haven't applied to do this, but I think we're going to put a 3rd one on after Christmas in a lunchtime as well. So that's ours.
That's great. Dana?
Ours
Thanks,
is,
Dawn. Oh, sorry.
sorry, did you say Dana or Dana?
Yeah.
I thought it was me as well. Go on, Dana.
Yeah, so ours was quite slow to start off with as well, but it is picking up. I think people, from the majority of people that have been coming, have been enjoying it as it is a sociable aspect of it as well. But I think some people are now starting to come. They were maybe a wee bit embarrassed to start off with, but it is getting busier. So yeah, we're doing not bad. Could be busier, but we're still trying to tell people about it. So ours will be changing a day after New Year. Now we start back up, so we'll see how that goes. We're going to be basically having the story time for the little kids as well at it, so hopefully it will get more families in as well.
Yeah. Probably word of mouth is probably important as well, isn't it? In terms of other people, how people hear about it. Councillor McGowan, I think you had your hand up.
I was just going to ask, how do you get your name in the list, Darren? Motherwell South Church are doing one on a Friday afternoon in Motherwell, and they're not on the list, but maybe they don't want it on the list. I'll have to check that. But
Yeah,
did you get a
it
grant,
may
did you
be-
say?
Yeah, so there were some organisations who actually turned down the opportunity for a grant because they were already providing that service. Having said that, I'll take a note of that. Is it a church you said?
Yeah, Motherwell South Church in Gavin Street in Motherwell.
Because even though if it's, even if they're not in receipt of this particular grant for this that's part of this campaign, I'm sure Leanne could correct me, but we can add them to the list and to our maps as well, so that people are aware of that. So regardless of whether or not they're in receipt of this grant, I feel we should be promoting them.
It should be publicised, yeah.
Yeah.
Were you want to come in on that before I bring Michelle in?
No, it was just to say what Dan was saying there, that yeah, I think the starting point for the map and the list was the council facilities that the council was opening, and then add layering on the organisations that were being funded, because that's where we knew there was activity. But I think if organisations are delivering, I think we won't be able to. Obviously, there's been, I think there's now printed maps, which we probably can't change. But in terms of the online, I think we should be able to add organisations in, because I think it is important that regardless of whether they're receiving funding or not, local people should know about these services and be able to have a choice over the services that they access. So we'll take that back and feed that in, councillor. So if you could just maybe email myself or Darren with the information, we'll make sure that it's fed in.
Thank you.
Michelle?
May just have answered my question there, because we Darren knows this. We've been approached by several organisations looking for some sort of printed format to display it in their centres, because some people aren't online and they would like to show it physically somewhere. But also I think they would maybe distribute it when they're giving things out to people that are at home, that are maybe not even visiting their centre. So that's great to see there's a list, and I look forward to having some access to share it. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Michelle. You've really kept me on my toes with that as well. Thank you. But no, yeah, Corporate Comms have created those leaflets and booklets, and I believe they've gone out for distribution this week. So, all those community centres and organisations should be in receipt of those for distributing to wider, to disseminate wider to their community, of course. Yeah. So, yeah, I'm glad we've got those out there. Because yeah, they're much needed. I know there's been a demand. Thank you, Michelle.
And just thank you for your support with that, Darren. Thank you.
Oh, thank you.
Chair, if you don't mind me saying, there has been other information that's been made available through the venues as well to make sure that all of the venues that are open have got and have information about supports and how local people can be supported, and referred for support, etc. And we've also included, we've obviously got the access to free sanitary products initiative in North Lanarkshire. Well, it's happening across Scotland, but our particular project in North Lanarkshire, we have made sure that there's products available and further information available through each of the sites as well, just to provide a bit further support in regard to that with local people. Thank you.
Megan, were you wanting to come in?
Yes, please. Darren, could I just ask if that monitoring information would be available to us in the health improvement team at all? Because I think that would be really great for us to be able to see kind of who's accessing the hubs and what help we could then provide them. So would that monitoring information be available to us at all?
Yes, absolutely. We can share that with yourselves, especially around the LOIP as well. I think there's some useful data, early data that could be pretty beneficial for many partners actually. So yeah, absolutely. I don't see no reason why we can't share that with you. So I'll certainly take a note of that and share with you the early data that we have, Megan. Thank you.
Great, thank you.
Okay, so some really good work, and say thanks to everybody that's involved, and particularly in the community organisations that are participating. And as Councillor McGowan was saying, we know there's other community groups and organisations that are also providing assistance and support to people kind of over the winter period, which is much needed, and grateful for that as well. So yeah, I'm sure we'll get further updates, Darren, at the next meeting, just as things progress, and hopefully everybody on the call will help spread the word in terms of the services that are available. So that's great. Dawn, I was wondering just in terms and the AOB as well, because I was going to mention it, that we've been working obviously with yourselves around the bid for regeneration capital grant for your project. I don't know if you want to give an update on that just now.
Yep. We have got a small Astro area behind the East Stand at Fir Park, and our offices are on the top floor of the Davy Cooper stand, so we're up 52 stairs. That makes access to a lot of our project sort of indoor programs, that makes them very, very difficult. So we had submitted a bid for regeneration capital grant to do the banking side of the Astro, which is the side nearest the flats, to put in a couple of porta cabins there, to tier an area for seating, to provide walkways, and that's tied into active travel. We obviously take on board what was said about Now Top. My staff don't start work till 9:30, and we don't ever do anything at 3 o'clock. And I have to say, we've got a good relationship with Jill Nichols and Gordon Murray there, and some of the abuse they've taken from parents is incredible around about the parking. So we don't use the school exit, we use DL Drive, but our parents still park where they want to park. So we're trying to draw into that active travel. We'll have an electric charging point if people do drive there. So we're trying to do it to make it a better facility for all. The surface of the AstroTurf pitch, which has been down for 12, 14 years now, is not great. We've got tree roots growing through it and things. So hopefully we're working with the Scottish FA to get a new surface down. Now the schools use it, both Now Top and Fir Park use the Astro twice a week. So I've been in communication with them, saying if we're successful in this bid, obviously there will be a slight impact for you in terms of the facility being closed. But if we're successful in the bid, and I have to say Chris Bateman at North Lanarkshire Council was first class in the support that I got. Absolutely incredible support, which I'm very grateful for. And if we're successful, that'll give us a venue which will help us deliver a lot more programmes, a lot more accessible programmes that will make us more open to the local community as well. And obviously it'll benefit both Now Top and Fir Park schools who are on the pitch too. So don't know what the outcome will be. We'll find out in December, and I know that the Scottish Government will have constraints on their budget. So I don't know. It's not a huge ask. I think it's a couple of £100,000, which we then match fund. So it's not huge amounts of money. So that's my hope, that their budget is so tight that everyone else's is too expensive and they come to ours. But it is very much for community use. It's to allow us to enable things that are accessible. Because again, even our heat hub is upstairs, which isn't ideal. It's not been a sort of barrier, but it can be a barrier to people. And as much as we use the power of football to get people, particularly that male 18 to 45 demographic, which is difficult to hit, sometimes people coming into the car park and looking up and seeing the stand, that can be imposing. So while we say, this is great, people want to come here, sometimes people think, oh, this is a Premier League club, this isn't for me. So that's part of the thinking around this as well. How do we get people to feel it's fine, you can drop in, you can come in and be part of this? And sort of one of our partner agencies is Blue Triangle Housing, who are looking at people sort of with addiction and recovery. We've already got programmes with North Lanarkshire Recovery Network. So it'll just encompass all these things and be more accessible. And if we're not successful, we'll just keep going till I find the money to make it happen.
Okay, thanks, Dawn. And say hopefully we'll find out soon. So it'd be good if we've maybe get some positive news that we can share with people for the next meeting. But, fingers crossed. Okay, Darren, so I think I mentioned it at the start of the meeting, but do you want to plug again, give another plug for the anybody want to chair the Motherwell Community Board? Over to you.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Yeah, so as you're aware, we are seeking nominations now for a new chair from for both existing and potential new members to this community board. We are going to have an official nomination form that we will share with you ahead of the next community board meeting. And we would really encourage nominations from yourselves or from anyone within your community who you feel would be interested in taking on this role. And then once we receive nominations, we will raise this at the next community board meeting as an agenda item, and hopefully there's agreement amongst us, and the new chair can take over from an agreed board meeting there onwards. And if we do have a couple of nominations, we can possibly look at sharing it on a rotational basis as well. So yes, please, if we would love to receive nominations from somebody for this moving forward, because it is community led. So yeah, thank you.
So nobody's going to put their hand up now because in case they think that's them volunteered. Councillor McGowan, I think that was your hands up from a previous. So I don't think you're nominating yourself at this point. Okay, so thanks, Darren. I'm sure everybody will have a think about it and hopefully see if they something that they want to take on, come back to us. Is there any other business anybody would like to raise or any updates? Dan, as I say, I'm not taking that as that you're volunteering for the chair, but you want to come in?
No, I was volunteering. No, I wasn't. No, I shouldn't even joke about that, should I? Yeah, I just wanted to. Michelle mentioned earlier about the Bilsow and Motherwell Strathclyde Park cycling developments and how Social Track's been involved with that actually for a good few years, actually, with that project. And it was ourselves at Social Track that had a lot of the design remit for the park at the Bellshill Gateway, and very pleased to say that some of it's in Motherwell as well, which is why I'm here. And we're really pleased with the quality and with what we've got. There's really nothing like that park in the rest of the UK, and there's only about 4 like it in the whole world. So we're really happy with it, and the response so far has been great. There's been and it's only been open since just before Halloween, and it's had over 1,000 visitors since, and that we've engaged with. at Social Track with our sessions. So it's been very successful. On the back of that success, one of the funders for the park was Pass for All. And it was them that enabled us at Social Track to do our community engagement sessions there. So what we have managed to secure is funding to actually be at that park. And again, I'll reiterate, it does say Bellshill on the tin, but we are in Forgewood as well. And that we will actually, we are funding to work there till February 24. So we have a whole year of programs that we will be running there, including during summer holidays and all that sort of stuff. And the other thing is that we plan on working with Braidhurst High School and another high school in Motherwell. We've yet to confirm that, but Braidhurst is confirmed. And we plan on working in Braidhurst for the full year so that they can use the facilities that are right on their doorstep. They're actually, Braidhurst High School is actually the closest high school to the park. So they're able to use those facilities, and we've already started doing that as well through other funding. Again, there was chat also about the active travel hubs, and we're trying to keep an ear on the ground to that, what's happening there. We actually have Cycling Scotland funding to provide higher schools, a higher fleet of bikes. We have funding from Cycling Scotland to actually provide that for the community. We'd really like to work with community groups first, rather than going straight to the public. We'd like to see volunteers and community groups being able to travel sustainably and actively through cycling. And we've got bikes and helmets and locks and all that stuff, and can do some training, and lots of programs that you can join in on as well, so that you can learn some skills. It's maybe something I should have a chat with Michelle about, and getting the word out to other voluntary sector organisations in the council. More than happy to do that. And like I said, from February, we're funded for the whole year to do a lot of that stuff. So yeah, feel free to get in touch, and yeah, we'll see what we can do. But yeah, that's the sort of what we've got at the moment. And the news for that, it's a fairly big project. The funding is actually £100,000, so it's a lot of staffing hours, and that's predominantly what the money is. So there'll be full-time members of staff actually working there, so and delivering programs. So we're pretty excited about it. And like I said, we've had a lot of support from other organisations. So yeah, we're looking forward to starting that in February. If there's any questions, feel free to ask.
Thanks, Dan. Yeah, really excellent sort of facility there. So, and hopefully some more work planned on the back of that. So really, really positive. And I say it links into what we were talking about earlier, albeit a wee bit disruptive at the moment, but you know, improving the active travel links in Motherwell down to Forgewood as well. So hopefully, you know, we'll all join up eventually. But yeah, positive. Councillor Brennan.
Unmuted. Pam, just as a quick reminder, Nan will probably ask about this at some point in the future. I know that the Newt Hill Community Council had contacted you about some businesses operating in Newt Hill, and I don't know if you managed to respond to that. Maybe I've not been copied in on it, or maybe I've missed that, I'm not sure, but just to see if there was any progress in that. And you can just email me if
so, and I know there's somebody on the call from the Community Council. I have got responses or updates on a number of the matters raised, and I'm just waiting for a couple of points around the issue that was raised about car park, the issue about the car park. So I was going to wait until I'd got that response from that team, and then sort of collate it into one response and copy in on that. So hopefully in the next, well, before Christmas, I'll get an update. I'm not sure it's going to answer or be the answer to that they're looking for in all cases. But again, happy to pick that up with Anne or the Community Council separately.
Many thanks, Pam.
Okay, Michelle, I don't know if you were wanting to maybe come in the back of Dan's update.
It's just a question for Dan, please. Dan, am I right in thinking that there will be access to bikes for people that don't have them? You know, children. Am I right in thinking that? And if I am, how does that work?
What we are planning at the moment, obviously it's pretty early days, and we're also in, you know, you wouldn't want to go ride the pump track at the moment, and maybe if you had ice skates you'd get away with it. And but what we're planning, I don't know if anyone saw that we had a Halloween event at both Wishaw Hillwood and Craigneuk and at Bells Hill, but it'll be a very similar format, but without the sweeties. Well, maybe not as many sweeties. Definitely plenty of characters, that's for sure. And what we, but it's essentially the same format that we always have. We'll be there, other than the school program where we'll be teaching specific things, and there'll be an element of, you know, there'll be different outcomes that we'll be looking for. When it comes to the community programs, they'll be during the school holidays that we'll be running. We're not entirely sure what days of the week those will be. I think we already know that weekends probably won't happen, but similar to sessions that we've done previously that have been funded by the lottery, what will happen is that we will have a certain amount of bikes, scooters and skateboards there. We'll have coaches there, and it will all be free. The thing that I'm looking for just now, and maybe this is actually the thing I really needed to say, is the thing that we're looking for just now in Motherwell, because we're in the process of looking at this for Wishaw, for, I say Wishaw, but Craigneuk, which I guess is relevant to this board as well. We're in the process of finding funding so that we can deliver 20 sessions with food at Wishaw. We don't have that because it was an active travel remit. There's leisure cycling relates to active travel. Sorry, usual long story for a short answer here. Free. It's all free. There'll be bikes to use when we're there. There's the mix of the pump track, mountain biking, and there's trial stuff, which is a kind of a niche mountain biking thing. But those guys from the Scottish trials, Scottish mountain bike trials, they're going to be there as well. Now and again, they want to drop in, they want to boost their presence. But yeah, I would ask if any community groups, either in Forgewood or Bells Hill, would like to be engaged in those sessions to deliver lunches. We just deliver simple, just rolls from Chapman's is basically what we deliver, and bottles of water. Thanks to Aggie, Pester and Liddles in Motherwell, we usually always get fresh fruit, and contrary to popular belief, water and fresh fruit gets consumed by children when that's what they're offered. So yeah, that's what we're hoping to achieve. We've not done that yet for Bells Hill. It's really close to Forgewood. You know, it's actually closer. It's as close to Forgewood really as a lot of Moss End is. You know, and the Jewel Estate. All of that. It's all about as close to there as anything else. So. So any group from Motherwell that would actually like to be engaged with that, I would more than happy to take any of that information, you know, work in partnership with any group, really. Does that answer your question, Michelle? I spoke too long there. Did I actually answer it?
No, that was great.
Thank you. Cheers.
Dana, do you want to ask a question?
Yeah, can I get contact details, please, Dan? Like an email address or that for this?
I'll send it to you just now. So, or I'll put it on the chat bar. How's that sound?
Great, thank you so much. Also, Councillor Brennan, sorry, can I get your contact details as well, please, if you don't mind?
I think maybe Leanne, could you maybe just even send Dana the kind of contact details for the people that are on the board? Would that be the ones that?
So we can send, if people have given consent, so like Dan saying right now he's happy for his details to be shared, and obviously the councillors we can share.
fine.
We can't just share the contact list because some of them are people's personal emails and things like that, just for data protection purposes. But what we can do is if you've contacted us, Dana, we can put you in touch with people. But given that Dan's just given his consent, Dan, are you quite happy for us to just share it? I just don't want to share everybody's with everybody kind of thing, just for data protection. But I just we contact us if there's details you're looking for, and we'll make the contacts for you and put you in touch with people, and we'll share Dan's.
Okay, thanks very much. It's just I'm not used to. I'm just right used to how it works. That's all. Thank you.
Thanks. Anybody else got any updates or any other business they want to raise? Councillor Rob?
Hi Pam, thanks. It was just to say there's an email dropped in just 2.5 hours ago or so. I think it was Councillor Nolan that asked about the Muir Street development at the train station. It was just to say that email's dropped in for us all, and it's quite detailed. I've only just noticed it myself.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you.
If there's anything else from that, Councillor Nolan, feel free to get in touch with Kirsty Carr and my team. Okay, Dawn, is that a new hand?
Yeah, just a quick one. We have funding. We've got a lot going on to support the local community over Christmas. We've got some money available with vouchers for families who might find themselves unable to buy a toy or to put food on the table. And we've also got 125 boxes going out to older people who are on their own. It's got like puzzle books, a hot chocolate mug, pens, bath salts, things like that. And we are happy to receive nominations from anyone who might know anyone. So if you just get in touch with us through the club or through the community trust, it's just community@motherwellfc.co.uk. And we are happy to take those nominations just to make sure that we can do all this for the community and get to those, as everyone on this call knows, those that need it most are those that are most difficult to reach. So if anyone is anyone they know of, personally, professionally, neighbours, whatever, please let us know.
Dawn, do you want us to share that with the community board and, to kind of raise awareness, or you want to do it a bit more discreetly? We can share any information that you've got. If you want to forward us a kind of form of words or an email, we'll share that. And we can share it through our kind of social media, local channels as well. We've got the Motherwell page.
Thank you so much.
Okay, is that a good note to end on then, in terms of hopefully helping as many people as we can over the Christmas New Year period in the winter? So thanks for that, Dawn. I don't see any other hands up, so I think, as I say, we'll bang on time. So I think we'll maybe draw the meeting to a close there, and thank you all for your attendance this evening, and as I say, wish you all a very Merry Christmas. I'm sure I'll see some of you before the Christmas holidays, but if I don't, I'll say Happy Christmas to everybody. I hope you have a really nice time, and say, well, maybe see you next week. Leanne, I forgot about the budget session, so
hopefully some others that are on the call, we'll hopefully see them too. So please get in touch and sign up. It's a really important discussion to be part of.
Yeah. Okay. If not, as I say, have a great time. Okay. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you,
Pam.
Thank you. Happy Christmas, everyone. Bye.